Hey YouTube, welcome back to Tinker with Tools. Today we're going to talk about a planer that seeks to bring you more premium features at a more affordable price. So let's go ahead and get into that on Tinker with Tools. Now, one of the main reasons why I have this obsession with power tools and this channel in general is because roughly 10 years ago, my wife asked me to build her a dining room table. Before that time, I had very few tools, and while the use of my tools definitely extends beyond woodworking at this point, it is still the thing that I turn to kind of distress and unwind after a long week. And despite having done it for 10 years, there are still a number of key or crucial woodworking specific tools that I have never actually owned, mostly due to spatial limitations with my last shop. But after this move, I do have a little bit more space, so I actually became quite excited when the company FindBuyTool reached out to me about the opportunity to review their new 13-inch helical head thickness planer. While I had some initial hesitation simply because I had never heard of the company before, I decided there was very little downside in at least offering to review the planer and giving my honest opinions about it. Now, in full disclosure, they did send me the planer for free, and I do get to keep it after the video. And while I am producing a video that they can use in their own marketing, I do maintain full control over the video and can still give you my open and honest opinions about it, which I intend to do. I do appreciate their support of the channel, but I always want to make sure and make you aware of any relationship that I have when working with a company, so you can take that into consideration while watching the review. Now, this planer is going to be a 13-inch lunchbox style planer, and 13 inches just describes the overall capacity or width of a board that you can push through the planer. And then the lunchbox style just refers to this style of planer that's going to be more portable and not like a floor standing model that's going to be harder to move. But on the surface, neither one of those items truly make this unique, because you can go down to your local hardware store and for roughly $400 to $500 pick up a 13-inch lunchbox style planer. What does make this unique is the type of cutter head that they're including in it. Now, typically those cheaper planers are going to have straight blade cutter heads with 2 or 3 blades situated around the cutter head, and it's going to kind of chop at the wood as it passes around. What's different about this model is that it includes a helical head, which is going to have tiny little square carbide cutter inserts arranged in a helical fashion, and these inserts are positioned with a slight angle that is going to offer a better finish and is going to work significantly better with harder woods and more figured woods versus kind of your more budget-friendly planer head. Now, what makes this tool unique is they seek to do this at a price point that is lower than any other one on the market currently. So today I want to take you through everything about the planer and let you know if there's any downside to this budget-friendly option. Now, as I mentioned, this comes from the company FindBuyTool. They are a direct-to-consumer manufacturer, and the tools they have are going to be branded under Macho Rule, which I'll admit is a little bit of a strange name, but the branding on the tool certainly isn't going to impact whether or not the tool works. It's just maybe going to impact people's decision on whether or not to give it a chance. All right, so then with those basics, let's go ahead and talk about what you get when you bring it out of the box. First off, the planer is mostly fully assembled. You do just have to attach 2 different parts to it to kind of make it fully functional. The first is going to be the handle that you use to kind of raise and lower the cutter head. Now, out of the box, mine was a little bit stiff. It has loosened up a little bit over time, but there are still a couple of rough spots as I move across it. Now, down on the right-hand side of the tool, as you look at it, they do have kind of a material thickness gauge that's going to allow you to see the thickness of what you're planing to, and it does include both imperial and metric measurements, which is a nice option. In the middle of the tool, you do have this gauge that allows you to see exactly how much of a pass you're going to be taking off or how much thickness you're going to be removing with each pass. They also do have a depth stop that you can adjust to make sure that you don't remove too much material as you're going ahead and planing this down. Now, up in the center, you do have the actual motor of the tool. It is a 15 amp motor, and so far I've found it to be powerful enough for the items that I have done. Now, the beds themselves that do extend out, they do fold up to kind of make it a little bit more compact. The front bed was actually set up really well coming right out of the box, but I did have to adjust the back side of it a little bit so that it would actually perform a nice pass each time I did. Now, the last thing that you do have to attach is going to be kind of the dust collection shroud. Now, that dust collection shroud does get in the way of the back bed folding up flush. Even in its most vertical position, it only goes up, a little bit of the way. And so that's one thing that seems like kind of a missed opportunity, is to find a way to engineer that so it can kind of fold flush. But overall, it's kind of a small price to pay to have good dust collection on there. Now, like I said, right out of the box, it was mostly set up and ready to use. I did go ahead and level the beds a little bit and make sure that everything was set up correctly. But from there, it was time to get on and start using it to see exactly how well it worked. All right, so then how does the tool actually function? Well, today was roughly the third time that I've used it. The first time was just kind of get it out of the box, make sure it turns on, pass a board through it. Then the second time I used it, I actually put it through its paces quite a bit. Recorded some footage that we'll have kind of interspliced here as I talk. And there was roughly about 2 to 2.5 hours of use of the tool kind of off and on during that time. I was actually breaking down material for a rolling cart, so I don't have to kind of lift this and lug it around anymore. It obviously handled the material really well. I wasn't expecting it to be a struggle to work on something softer like that. That second day, I also did pass a hickory board through it a couple of times. And hickory is one of the harder woods that I've worked with. Obviously, it's not the hardest, but it's right up there, and it's pretty difficult to work with. And this actually handled it just fine. There wasn't any noticeable tear out on the board. It did have a nice smooth finish, and it worked well to kind of reduce it down. Performance-wise, it's been really smooth, decently quiet, certainly quieter than kind of an older style rigid lunchbox planer that I had tried before. That just has kind of the straight blade cutter head. This one was a little bit quieter than that. And, you know, not necessarily overly loud. I still would recommend wearing hearing protection with it, but it actually worked quite well in my opinion. Now I want to talk about dust collection for a second. I'm going to have some footage of that second day where I really did a ton of dust collection. And as I walked around the back side of the planer a couple of times, I did notice that where the plastic shroud is kind of meeting up with the actual tool body, there are some places where that shroud is just a little bit deformed. And because of that, there's just a little bit of misalignment in the middle. And so because of that, there is kind of a little spot where some of the chips can kind of get ejected out of there. And you'll see some of that kind of debris pooling up on the back of the machine as I was using it. My initial impression was that it wasn't doing all that good to collect the dust, but upon closer inspection, I actually opened up the little dust separator bucket that I use, and it actually had filled that thing all the way to the top, roughly halfway through. You know, I emptied it and continued on, and it filled it up a second time. So I gathered up 2 5-gallon buckets worth from planing the different material that I did. So while it did still kind of make a mess, it is a messy tool, it actually did a pretty decent job. I was using just a rigid shop vac connected with a little bucket top dust separator, and that's the performance I was getting with that. I'm sure if you hooked it up to a proper dust collection system, you would be getting even better performance with that. Obviously, you know, if this piece fit just a little bit better, I think you'd get a better seal on it. And if that were the case, you might have an even cleaner operation. but for the most part, it certainly collected enough of it that it wasn't too big of a hassle just to kind of vacuum up the back of the machine when I was done doing the testing. So with the performance testing out of the way, I just kind of want to bring up a couple other topics in here. The first one being with warranty and support. FindBuyTool is offering a 1-year warranty with this, and initially I was kind of like, well, that's not the greatest, but as I started looking around, even with more reputable brands, that is what I was finding, is that there is roughly 1-year warranty on these machines. So it kind of is competitive in the marketplace, even if I think maybe it would be better to offer a slightly longer warranty, given that they are kind of a lesser known tool company at this point. They do offer a 30-day money back guarantee, so if you aren't satisfied with the product, you can return it and get your money back. So I think that's a good assurance. And the last thing I want to talk about definitely is going to be the price. This thing is going to sell right now for $699. They did have a coupon code when I was looking at it today, so you might even get a couple of dollars off of that a little bit. And they do offer free shipping. As I started to look at what the competition was offering their helical head options for, I did find a couple of companies that are typically going to be priced in that about $740 to maybe $830 for something that offers the same feature set that you're going to be getting on this planer. And so with that, they are undercutting the competition a little bit, and offering free shipping is something that not every single one of those companies is doing. So I do think they're offering some compelling value to get you an opportunity to buy into that more premium feature set. There's nothing in the use of the tool I've seen so far that would dissuade me from saying that it's a well-made product that so far has done everything I've asked of it. But obviously, as I get more time in this tool, it might be necessary to do a follow-up video in the future so you can kind of see how it's working a year in or 2 years in or something like that. Now, another smart thing that I think they've done is they do also offer those helical heads for a variety of different planers on their website. Traditionally, when I've looked at that through a couple of popular brands, you can see those options go for as much as $500 or $600 depending on which one you're looking at. And with that, they're currently offering it for one of the more popular DeWalt style planers for $329. So be sure to go ahead and check out their website, see what else they have to offer, because they do have a bunch of different router bits and saw blades and different things like that. They may have something that catches your interest, but definitely go ahead and check out the planer, because I do think that they've got a nice product on their hands here, especially at the price point we're talking about. So there you have it. I do appreciate their support in the channel of sending that over, but I'm even more pleasantly surprised that it does seem to be a quality product and it works well, and it's going to fit the needs of what I need for a planer for a long time to come. So if you have any questions, go ahead and leave those in the comments down below. If you like this sort of video, go ahead and hit that like button, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you get notified whenever I put out a new video. Once again, thank you FindBuyTool for sending over the planer. I do appreciate the support, and until next time, I will catch the rest of you on Tinker with Tools.